Good morning, everybody. My name is Justin Wilson. I'm the Congregational Life Coordinator here at First Universalist Church, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to this morning's service. If this is your first time here, we especially welcome you. We want to extend the message that you belong because you are here. Thank you for making it to our worshiping community. I want to extend the offer for you to remain after for coffee hour in the Claire Barton Lounge behind us, or in the same Zoom link online for further connection and fellowship. We also have the building tour today afterwards, so stick around for that as well. If you're new to us especially, we ask you to fill out the visitors form either online in the link in the chat or on the back of your order of service so that we can get to know you better and offer a deeper welcome than what we can offer this morning. If you're looking for ways to serve in our congregation, we have plenty of opportunities. We always have coffee hour. We're looking for individuals to serve in that. You can see MJ Curry if you're interested, who's waving her hands there. There's also a paper sign-up sheet now, and we still need individuals for next week, which is Labor Day weekend. We need one individual. Okay. And another. We're always looking for people, though. We also have a playground project October 3rd. We're helping to build a community playground. So if you're interested in being part of that tangible project, come see me. And we're also looking for individuals interested in new social justice circles. While it is Reverend Eileen's first preaching Sunday, well, not really, first preaching Sunday today, the official welcome will be September 7th. So you don't want to miss that date either. Before we take a moment to turn towards our neighbor and offer a greeting, let's say hello to our online community and wave back towards the Progress Pride flag and the camera. If you're online, you can pop a greeting in the chat to each other. We're certainly happy you're here joining us. And if you're here in person, now is a great time to take a moment to offer a greeting to our neighbor.
Everybody. I want to invite you to return to your seats, but stay standing, rise in body or in spirit, and let's sing together our opening hymn. It's number 311 in your gray hymnal or up on the screens above.
everyone. Embracing being a fool is Minister Eileen's chosen theme today. I love this because my favorite Bible verse is Proverbs 17:28. Even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise. So I will sit down. Now you know I'm wise, except I got back up. A lot has been written about fools. A fool and his money are soon elected. That's Will Rogers. He knew a lot of good stuff and a lot of fools, I'm sure. For God's sake, give me the young person who has brains enough to make a fool of themselves. Robert Louis Stevenson. Prejudices are what fools use for reason. Voltaire. The quotes go on and on, unsurprisingly, because we all know a lot of fools. And sometimes we feel like one ourselves. Something we choose to do can make us feel like a fool. A great example is learning a second language. We all know that is so simple, even a child can do it. Of course, one reason kids can learn a new language easily is they are not afraid of making mistakes. We older people have developed a fear of failing, of making even small mistakes, of looking like a fool. We give up when we need to make the mistakes required by learning. So try, practice, succeed. Something you don't choose can also make you feel like a fool. My favorite bumper sticker reads, "Stuff happens." Well, not exactly stuff. You know the one I mean. A spouse can leave you or die. Been there, done that. You can lose your job. Been there, done that. Your house could burn down. I haven't done that. Someone can intentionally fool you in some important way. Been there, done that a couple times. When bad stuff happens, you may not know what to do, but you must figure it out. You cannot afford to actually be a fool. So think, take a deep breath, a step forward, repeat, do it with dignity. This takes grit, emotional strength, and persistence. It breeds resilience. Prior practice at choosing to be a fool helps when bad stuff happens. Here's my worst true life stuff happens experience. My husband died suddenly of a heart attack 20 years ago. We had a 15-year-old daughter. Half of the family income was suddenly gone, and my job would evaporate in a year and a half. So I needed a solid new job soon. My husband's death had given me incredible brain fog, no ability to focus, no short-term memory. Yes, I had been temporarily transformed into a total fool. But I pulled myself together, I strategized, and I began a 13-month-long, costly, grinding, all-consuming election campaign for family court judge. The need to support my daughter motivated me. No local politics experts had thought I could win. But my daughter and I, and the many UU volunteers working on my campaign, thought I could. The experts indeed thought I was a fool to waste my time and money. My prior campaign work for others, which had caused me to feel like a fool often enough when I didn't know what to do, served as valuable practice for when I simply had to win. Maybe you have kids, grandkids, a spouse or partner for motivation. When bad stuff happens, take stock and remember you are no fool. After all, you are smart enough to have chosen to be a UU. Whether you choose to take a chance on something new or are forced, ready or not, to handle bad stuff, this church and its members are here for you. You need never be alone. Come, let us worship together. As Bill Elwell comes forward to light our chalice at First Universalist, and you light a chalice in your own homes, please join me in our chalice lighting words spoken in unison. May we be a people of welcome, here to grow in heart and mind and spirit, and may we reach out to serve our community. Now please rise in body or in spirit for our affirmation of faith. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the source and meaning of life. Thus do we covenant, and with all.
Please be seated. Now it's time for a story. If you're a young person here or not that young person, and you want to come up front to sit on the rug in front and hear the story a little better, I invite you to come forward now or any time during the story, and you can bring a grown-up with you if you feel like you need to. And you can go back to your grown-up whenever you feel like you need to do that. So as folks make their way up, I will tell you that this morning's story is called Pele's Journey, and it comes to us from Polynesian folklore. It's a story about the Polynesian goddess Pele. Maybe you've heard of her as a deity associated with volcanoes, which she is, but this story is about the sea and about a journey without a destination. You see, Pele was the daughter of Haumea, the Mother Earth herself. And Pele, she had some big feelings. Like the kind of big feelings that would make the whole earth explode with molten magma every time she was overwhelmed. You ever have feelings that seem that big? Me too. And in this story, Pele was living in the islands of Western Micronesia. And if you're not sure where that is, but you do know where the country of modern Indonesia is, it's right near there, near the mainland coast of Asia, where the creation of the world in this folklore had just taken place, or at least some of it. And so Pele, living there, got a really big feeling, like a big, big one. She felt something we might call restlessness, like she just couldn't keep still. Anybody ever feel that big feeling? Yeah. She felt like she just had to get out and go somewhere. She had a feeling we might call wanderlust, like she wanted to be a traveler. Anybody have that big feeling? And she wanted to find out what was beyond this creation, this brand new world. She had this big feeling of curiosity that was pulling at her. Anybody ever have that feeling? Me too. She felt like she had to go right away. And so Pele asked her father, who was a maybe human, maybe divine chief of some sort, for some help. Well, first he asked her, if you want my help, he said, you have to babysit your little sister first. Typical, right? So she hatched her baby sister from an egg, and it doesn't have to make sense because we're talking about gods here. And her sister came out whole and beautiful and adult somehow. Again, they're gods. It doesn't have to make a ton of sense to us humans. And then in payment for this babysitting job, her father gave her a whole cache of goods and gifts and supplies for a long journey. And he said, where are you going with it? And she said, I'm not sure, but I know I have to go. And so next she went to her brother, the king of sharks. Talk about a cool big brother, right? She went to her brother, the king of sharks, and asked him for help. And he asked, where are you going? And she said, I don't know, I'm going on a journey. I have this big feeling that I need to go, but I don't know where. And so he carved her a canoe, a big, long canoe, the kind that Polynesian people have used for centuries, millennia, are still using today. And he gave that to her as a gift. And finally, Pele went to her mother, the Mother Earth, Haumea, and she said, I have a big feeling, Mom, that I need to go. And her mother asked, where are you going? And she said, I don't know, but I think to the east. And the East, this story tells us, at that time was a vast, uncreated emptiness, a void with nothing there. But Pele's big feeling pulled her toward the unknown. And so her mother gave her one last gift, the gift of the sea itself. And with her gifts and her family's love and blessing, Pele got into her canoe and made her way east into the unknown, spilling the sea out from her own forehead ahead of her as she sailed. She poured the sea ahead of her, making a way where there had been no way. And she pulled up island after island behind her as she went, journeying across this brand new sea to a chain of Hawaiian islands that she pulled up as she went along until she finally found at the end of that chain beauty and abundance that no one, including herself, knew had been out there. And having satisfied her big, restless, curious feeling, Pele sailed back for all her siblings and brought them to live with her on the beautiful new little island of Kauai, happily ever after. Well, she did sometimes after that explode volcanoes on her siblings when she was annoyed with them. But mostly happily ever after, because who doesn't, right? And this is the end of our story. So you can go back to your seats whenever you're ready.
Our August social justice plate offering is designated for Friends of Ganondagan, a not-for-profit 501c3 corporation created in 1989 as a private education partner to the Ganondagan State Historic Site. I hope some of you have been there. It is the only New York State historic site dedicated to Native Americans and the only Seneca town developed and interpreted in the U.S. They are an internationally recognized resource for the Haudenosaunee history. That's Haudenosaunee, also known to Iroquois in the old days. So they are an internationally recognized resource for Haudenosaunee history, culture, and living traditions that express universal ideals of peace and cooperation and respect for each other and the natural world. A woman the Haudenosaunee referred to as the greatest woman who ever lived, a true peacemaker, is buried there in an unmarked grave. Please contribute as generously as you can to support this important work. Please place your offering in the offertory basket or give online by scanning the QR code on the back of your order of service. This is also a great time to place visitors form in the offering basket. And for folks online, please click the link in the chat to give to the First Universalist Church. Thank you for your generosity. This morning's offering will now be gratefully received. Please rise and body our spirit to sing the doxology together. And if you are a child heading to religious education, you may follow Miss Connie Balk out the side door while we sing the doxology.
Each Sunday morning, we take time with each other for the sharing of our joys and concerns. When we share with one another our personal highs and lows, we enlarge our circle of love, strengthen our caring for one another. I invite you into this sacred time where we share what's on our hearts and minds this morning. If you would like to, you can place a hand over your heart to be able to listen from this heart-centered place. We know so much is going on in our world today, and if you have sorrows or joys to share on behalf of our national and global community, you are truly encouraged to do so today and in the future. As Trish places stones into a bowl, I will read aloud the joys and sorrows of our gathered community. All online are also invited to share your joys and sorrows into the chat. We share together two joys with Kitty. Her son Cooper got married, and yesterday her granddaughter Carly graduated, and congratulations to all. We share a sorrow with Trish that after the service today she goes to a memorial for a friend who died after a long struggle with cancer. We share with Jay a joy to celebrate the first week working as a survivor advocate, and with it a sorrow at a drastic decrease in non-English speakers seeking crisis services out of fear of deportation. We share a joy of welcome to the new minister, and my joy to be with all of you as well. And now, the circle of our care. Oh, I missed some. I'm so sorry. We share with John at fostering 4 dogs since their corgi died, and they've all been adopted. We share sorrow with Jean at the continued conflicts and war around the world. We share with Elena a joy of excitement to perform with Transposing Voices right here next Saturday. And now the circle of our care is drawn larger, and may it increase evermore. We share also this morning in a community ritual to honor the many joys and sorrows we bring into this space, whether yours was read aloud or kept in the silent sanctuary of your heart. In a moment, those who are here in person are invited to come forward and drop stones into the bowls below. If you need to remain seated, please raise your hand and someone can come to you with a bowl to drop your stone in. If you're joining online, please send a heart emoji in the meeting chat. Let us join in this collective ritual of honoring the joys and sorrows of us all. In all our joys and all our sorrows, may we remind one another, we are with you. You are not alone. And invite you now into a time of prayer and meditation, followed by some shared silence. So here or at home, would you take a deep breath with me? And maybe we need another. Let's take another deep breath and let it out with a sigh. And of course we need another. Please, by all means, keep breathing. Keep your attention on your breath, if nothing else. Let your feet find the floor, be supported by this good earth, by this good church. As we turn inward now, Spirit of life, we hold together so many things this morning. We hold joy, the joy of milestones, of changes and transitions, and we hold all of their sorrow as well. We hold the heartache of loss in our little lives and also in the whole wide world. We hold big feelings like Pele and little feelings that matter too. We hold all of these things, but let us always remember that we do not hold them alone. We hold them here together. I offer you this morning these words of prayer by the Reverend Leslie Ahuva Fales. Friends, all that we have been separately and all that we will become together is stretched out before us and behind us like stars scattered across a canvas of sky. We stand together at the precipice, arms locked, together like tandem skydivers working up the courage to jump. Tell me, friends, what have we got to lose? Our fear of failure, our mistrust of our own talents. What have we got to lose? A poverty of the spirit? The lie that we are alone? What wonders await us in the space between the first leap and the moment our feet, our wheels, however we move our bodies across this precious earth, touch down softly on unknown soil? What have we got to lose that we can't replace with some previously unimaginable joy? Blessed are you, Spirit of life, who has sustained us, enlivened us, and enabled us to reach this moment. Give us courage in our leaping and gratitude in our landing, and share with us in the joy of a long and fruitful ministry together. Amen. Growing up, I had a mom, and I hope some of you will find this relatable, who, when she thought I might be succumbing to that demon of all 90s teenagers, peer pressure, she would say to me, "If your friends jumped off a bridge, would you?" And she asked me this mostly when she wanted me to take her advice instead of my friends. And I was a snarky and insufferable youth, so I responded to this very rhetorical question the same way every time, even before I encountered Leslie Ahuva Fail's beautiful prayer of this morning. Probably, yeah, I'd say. If my friends are jumping off a bridge, I bet there's a good reason. Maybe the bridge is on fire. Maybe we're being chased. Maybe the water's cool and deep and it's hot outside and it's not that high of a bridge. I trust my friends. If they jump, I'd probably jump. Yes. She did not appreciate the sass. As a parent, I can now really relate to not appreciating this kind of sass. But this kind of sass is one of the reasons I love teenagers so much. I mean this as a full compliment. Adolescents make the best fools. One of their greatest gifts to their communities, to humanity, is a total rejection of the way we do things here. They do not care that their crop tops scandalize us or that their slang confuses us. More importantly, they do not care that their church has sung those problematic lyrics of that hymn the same way for 200 years, or that their grandparents are uncomfortable with the limitlessness of gender. And that kind of foolishness, that kind of willingness to wander into the unknown just to see what new delights exist out there, is exactly what it takes to change the world. As I tried to pull together some imagery for my first service preaching here, for us beginning this new ministry together, I read Leslie's prayer, and I kept picturing the image of the tarot card of the Fool. Now, disclaimer, before we get to coffee hour, I am familiar with this one card, but I am not a tarot expert. I cannot answer your tarot-related spiritual questions, but I am betting there are people here who can. This card, this one card I know about, has an image of a person in a sort of court jester outfit, traditionally, looking up happily at the sky, grinning, reaching one hand back in invitation as they are about to walk off the edge of a cliff. And while I can't stress this enough, I don't want us to walk off the edge of any literal cliffs and plunge to our doom, I do find the image compelling. I hope it does not fill you with fear and regret to hear your new minister say so, but the metaphor of a cliff's edge really calls to me. The idea of us together at the precipice of something, some unknown, unforeseeable future calls us to leap without looking, without risk studies or nets or gear or assurance of safety, without a committee on cliff jumps to study for 12 and a half years whether we should move forward or not. After many listening sessions, we just jump. Not in spite of the foolishness of it, but because of it. The best spiritual teachers, whether they are young adults or not, and so often they are willing to be fools and reaching back, calling us to come along as fools with them, to reject the expectations of the status quo and set forth towards something new and unknown. Like Jesus, they ignore the widely accepted rules and customs and are willing to face being ostracized if it means they can be real. He ignored social norms to talk to, touch, and break bread with people who were traditionally ostracized, right? Sex workers, Samaritans, lepers, tax collectors. He broke with religious customs to do work of serving the most marginalized, the sick, and the poor, even on the Sabbath, even if it made him ritually unclean. And he faced ridicule and marginalization himself by taking on the role of the fool, the rule breaker, by stepping off that edge of expectation. Like Nasruddin, the Turkish teacher of Islamic folklore, spiritual fools are willing to look ridiculous if it means connecting to that transcendent force of love. In thousands of stories about Nasruddin, his foolishness is a teaching tool. We learn as listeners by watching him fail. And occasionally he seems foolish until we realize he's making a fool of us, of the rules and customs and conventions that keep us from true connection. Often, his wacky antics, his seeming madness, is a reminder that all transformation looks like madness to the status quo. Justice looks like madness to systems of oppression. And liberation requires the foolhardiness of going outside of the bounds of what we know. Like one of my favorite spiritual role models, Miss Frizzle, 90s television teacher, queer icon, pilot of the magic school bus. The archetype of the fool is always ready to mess up. She understood, like all good scientists, that we gain as much wisdom from getting something wrong as we do from getting it right. She oriented herself in wonder, not certainty, toward that cliff's edge of understanding. And whenever her students were hesitant to undertake her zany quests for discovery, she reminded them of her motto, take chances, make mistakes, get messy. And like Pele in our story, and all the great Polynesian sailors who told the story of Pele, holy fools are ready to answer yes to that stirring in their heart to set forth and explore, even when they don't know where they're going. Because the fool admits what the rest of us do not want to admit, that we are not in control of very much of what happens to us in our communities. That control is actually never a pathway to growth or liberation. That try as we might to make solid plans for the future, none of us knows what it brings or where we may end up. It is the fool who smiles as they take that step, but we're all on the edge of the cliff. And look, we don't have to always be smiling about it. We don't have to love being on the cliff's edge. Not every fall is safe. And we don't have to grin about all of them. As an example, I think a lot of us felt the reality of this edge a little too keenly in 2020. Almost in an instant, pandemic snuck up and pushed us off the edge of a cliff we didn't know was in front of us. The world we thought lay comfortably ahead of us fell away, and suddenly here we were, explorers in the abyss, setting sail without a plan, without a destination, unprepared, scared to death. And it wasn't a safe jump. So many lives have been lost since then. So many safety nets failed us. Those of us left are still swimming through its aftermath. The children's author Lemony Snicket talks about loss, all loss, like an unexpected drop. He describes the loss of a loved one like walking up the stairs to your bedroom in the dark and thinking there's one more stair there. Your foot falls down through the air and there is a sickly moment of dark surprise. Just to be clear, I think it would be pretty unholy foolishness for me to tell you to be grateful for that. Just to be clear, I'm not. To smile at that type of drop, we have to do the work of discerning what is dangerous and what is just uncomfortable. As a birth doula and a minister, I have found there is a surprising overlap in the work of holding hands while I say, this is scary, it does hurt, but you are safe. I know that you are uncomfortable, but you are not in danger. I am with you. Letting go of that sense of danger when we are actually just uncomfortable isn't just for the sake of fun and whimsy. I am serious about us being fools together. Neurologists who wanted to study creativity in the brain in 2012 asked some jazz musicians to sit in a giant MRI and jam together. They improvised musically, the musicians, not the neurologists, while the scientists watched what happened in their brains. And what they found was this. While they were playing, the brain areas associated with creativity lit up on the MRI, just as the neurologists expected. But unexpectedly, a whole bunch of the frontal lobe, was quieted. The area of the brain associated with risk management, self-assessment, and self-monitoring shut down while creativity woke up. When they started to improvise, to play together, the musicians let go of their thoughts of how foolish they might look, if they might make mistakes, their sense of any risk of failure. They let go of not being wrong. And I think this is a religious act. When Muslims pray, they kneel and press their foreheads to the ground. And I once asked my friend Ralph, a Muslim chaplain, about why this posture is a part of prayer. And he told me, of course, it's different for every Muslim, but that for him, he thought about lowering his frontal lobe to the ground, a symbolic act of letting go of his own assessment of himself, his own fear of failure and risk, in a surrender to the larger whole. It's an acknowledgement of his own uncertainty and the freedom that letting go of being right delivers. A sacred act of accepting one's own potential foolishness, a holy uncertainty. So how do we do it? How do we embrace the fool's errand when maybe we've spent a whole lot of our lives trying to be serious and reasonable and not wrong? Well, I think there's a reason why the figures who minister to children and young adults, Lemony Snicket, Ms. Frizzle, Jesus, the metaphorical bridge-jumping teens, why they all embody a spirit of foolishness. The imaginative capacity of youth is, I think, a highly spiritual trait. It is the place from which all of us pray, envision different understandings of one another, of the nature of the divine and of the universe. It is a place from which all our deepest questions arise, because it is what opens us up in wonder to the universe. Young people have not yet become so afraid of being fools that they refuse to play. And play is how all creatures grow. Human and non-human, brand new babies and ancient elders, play is the way that we adapt and grow. It is fundamental to being human, to being a creature. And it requires us to be okay with being fools, with seeming foolish. For the most part, very serious adults do not have societal permission to play. It feels dangerous, even when it's just uncomfortable. As a church in the 21st century, we tend to think of our shared ministry as a particularly important and serious job. We feel a sense of danger. Most churches in the U.S. have spent the last few decades reeling in a period of religious decline. Attendance has largely dropped. Americans report being less religious than ever. And churches are struggling to figure out how to function without the membership they once counted on. It can be a scary time for us. We don't know what's over the edge of this cliff. We don't know what the future looks like, but we know it won't look like more of the same. We won't be able to keep being churches in the same ways that we always have. What a blessedly childlike place to be. We don't know what the future holds, but we know it won't be more of this. More of the way we've always done things. This is exactly the space of play, the space for a real fool's errand, a space where we have the room to improvise, imagine, and create because the future is unscripted. The sea is not there yet. A space where a little terrifyingly, routine and order and making sure we don't get it wrong are dropped to make room for our wild imagination. And doesn't that just give you a roller coaster rush of fear mixed with delight? It's okay if you're not there yet. I am here with you to hold your hand and remind you that it is hard, it is uncomfortable, and it's daunting, but we are safe. I'm here with you. When we think about how to be a people of faith in these times, we have to remember that the beginning of any justice work is imagination. It is the work of play, of our imagining the world as different, So much of our community empathy comes out of imaginative play, of looking around the world and thinking ourselves, imagining ourselves into others' places. Of thinking, of imagining to ourselves, this isn't how things have to be. We can envision a better way. Justice work requires imagining new ways of being together, new models of community care, new and different structures to replace the scaffolding of oppression. And it requires enough foolishness to set out toward that new world, even if we don't quite know the way. Enough foolishness to get messy building new models, let them fail, and reimagine all over again. To trust that it is safe enough to jump. The beauty of the holy fool, the gift of the fools among us, and the gift to ourselves when we decide to be fools for a day or a year or a lifetime, is to find joy and abundance and new life even in the unknown wild out there. To smile as we step out toward who knows what. The holy fool goes out into the unknown, believing against all reason and rules that unseen wonders might just exist out there, that a better world is possible. And then, like Pele and every good fool, reaches back to bring the rest of us toward a bright new future if we're willing to go. I know that it's scary to talk about and scarier to do. I like to think fear was at least one of Pele's big feelings. I'll admit, foolish though I may seem, I'm scared to feel like I don't know what comes next for us as a movement or a society or a church. It's scary to begin a ministry in these times, and maybe somehow scarier to admit to all of you that there is not a clear path forward. But I do know this. I came here because I trust you. My friends, if you are jumping, I'm jumping with you. Amen? May it be so. Would you rise in body or in spirit and sing together our closing hymn in the Teal hymnal, number 1020. Would you please remain standing as Tris Gallagher extinguishes our chalice flame this morning? And let us read together the words printed on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts, with its message of love. Taking outside these walls, to the world we live in, until we are together again. As we close our service this morning, I invite you to place a hand over your heart. If you're joining us online, I invite you to turn your settings to gallery view and look upon the faces of those here with you. For those of us in the room, take a moment to look around at all those gathered here today. And let us close with a benediction from the hallowed spiritual text of public television. May we take chances, make mistakes, get messy. Amen. Everyone is invited to join us for coffee hour immediately after the service in the Clara Barton Lounge or online in the current Zoom meeting, and we hope to see you there.